The Emmy Award-winning program Aspire would like to thank the personnel and the viewing audience for their loyal and generous support.
Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao-tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are. There's so many roads.
Good morning and welcome to Aspire. We're so grateful you chose to be with us. We're going to be continuing in our series on seeking to develop a deeper insight, a deeper awareness about who and what we really are. We've entitled this program Our Original Face. It's dealing with a Zen koan called What is Your Original Face? Who are you really? Not the mask you put on, not the face that you go to greet your friends with or your family, but the face of your heart, of your spirituality. Brian Jameson is also going to be with us on this program, so come and spend a half hour with us, finding yourself. Come Aspire.
We're all dancers. Just believe we can be everything.
One of the interesting things about us is that we ask questions that are not important and that have nothing to do with our deeper purpose or why we are even here. Have you ever noticed that questions are asked like, why are we here and who are we? There are a lot of questions that should be asked that are never asked, and most of the questions that we ask don't need an answer. We're not even ready for the answers. When we ask the question, why am I here, who am I, most of us are not ready for that answer. It would frighten us to know. We're very comfortable with our limitations. That's what religion is for. Religion allows us to have our limitations and then justifies them for us. If you look at religion, it's based, the way we have made it in this country, on fear, right? It is based on not knowing, not being aware of what we are, but making answers that are not necessarily true. We have conjured up the idea that we are sinful by our nature, that there's something inherently wrong with us. And so we go on and on with this. We have too many answers to things that are not important. And everybody's got a theory. I don't know why it is so important for us to always have so many answers and so many theories about things. I guess we justify and rationalize a lot of things in our life this way. It's a way of having an answer for the things that we do that may seem strange. Other people may be judgmental of them or think that we're wrong. But I think it's important to look at not having answers. Not thinking that we know so much. Everything that we do to find ourselves, if you look at it. Everything that you do. And that's the real question and the real answer. Who am I? Not the intellectual who am I, not the biblical who am I, but who am I really? Beyond what everybody says, beyond what the ministers tell me I am as a sinner, beyond the positive thinking ministers who say I'm just the love and the light of God, who am I really? Beyond all that. There is an old saying, and it is a saying in the East. It is a saying that if you can answer it, it comes in the form of a Zen koan. If you can answer this, you will find yourself amazed at who you are, what you are, and your own enlightenment. And the quote goes like this, and it is always asked of anybody who says, I want to find enlightenment. I don't want any more answers. I don't want any more questions. I just wish to find myself beyond all the theories and all the religions. And the question is simply this: what was your face before your parents were born? Now, the whole thought of that sounds ridiculous. What was my face before my parents were born? But if you look at it, you will see there's a deep teaching in it. Before you were born, you had no face. And the moment you are born, the first thing that a parent does is try to create a face in us. We do it to our children. I did it to mine. I'm sure you've done it to yours. We tried to teach them to be respectable. We tried to bring them up in a religion, and that is a face. And we have our sociological face, and we have our lover face, and we have our hatred face, and we have our political face. And behind all of these faces, it becomes very difficult for us to understand who we really are. Most people just want to think of themselves as being positive. I want to always be positive. I always want a positive face. Men and women are obsessed with how they look. We Americans are always obsessed. We have to look sexy. We have to look good. We have to always look right. Another face that we put on. And when we cry alone. A lot of people are afraid to cry. A lot of us, because we have been taught to put on these phony facades, can't cry anymore. We find it difficult to let go. And that's where the pain comes in and the hurt. What was your face before your parents were born? What faces they gave you beyond all of that? What are you really? If you begin to look at it, you and I have no face. We are faceless. We are the face of God, but more than that, the face of God has no face. It is unconditional love. You could say it was kindness, it was wisdom, it was consciousness. And that's beautiful, and those are words. But until we recognize them, what do they mean? They're simply words, more ideology and more theory and more religion. One of the things that I've tried to teach you, and I've offered on this program, is the opportunity for some spiritual transformation, where you don't take what I say to you and you put it in a category or a religion or you theorize about it, but where you begin to practice it a little bit. Let me give you some how-tos on finding your original face, the face before your parents were born that is really you. Take time in the day, and I gave this to you in class, and it's a wonderful thing to work on here on TV, and I give this to our viewers at home. Take time to see how critical and unkind you are. Now, when I say that, I don't want you to look at yourself and go, okay, I see I'm critical here and I'm unkind here and I'm finding fault here, and then abuse yourself. First of all, just look at it. Basically see how you move through a crowd, how you drive, how you stand in line, how you fidget and fuss, how maybe you criticize other people and you become angry and easily angered by what you see around you. Stop a moment and just watch that and ask yourself the question, who is feeling angry? Who is feeling hostile? If you are very quiet, you will see it's not you. It's some face in you that trained you, that conditioned you to feel that way. That's all. The next thing, don't criticize yourself for those feelings. Just watch them. It is enough that you see them. One of the first things that metaphysical students feel that they need to do is when they find something in them that is what they call bad or wrong, that they have to get out of it quickly, get rid of it, that it's something to be ashamed of. And that's not true. I have those things in me, just like you do. But if I try to hide them, they only get worse. I've noticed if I acknowledge them, if I see them, and I do not resist them, they fall away like leaves on a tree. They dry up, they wither, they die. All on their own. I didn't need to be positive, and I didn't need to be negative, and I didn't need to do anything. All I needed to be was me. It's so simple, and that's the key. To find our original face, we have to go back to simplicity. If we're going to really take this work for the opportunity that it is in transformation, there is one thing that is very necessary. We don't need to be praying to God that we change or that others change. We need to do one thing, to sit in our meditation. I say this over and over to you. To sit in our meditation, to be quiet and to listen without the need to change anything. It's in the listening that the greatest work is done. It's in that kindness that the greatest work is done. So spend more time sitting alone with yourselves and being very kind, very silent. Again, I think the greatest words in truth or in meditation is silence is the answer. And it truly is our answer. Namaste.
Just believe we can be everything.
Welcome to this segment of Aspire. Many of you have enjoyed Brian Jameson. He has been the most photographed person, I think, on this program and one of the most meaningful people that we've had. Brian has helped me personally, and I'm very happy to say he's helped a lot of the people in our center. He does past life regressions and, quite frankly, is very good at it. And we're back with him today. I want to ask him a few more questions if we have some time. One of the things that we've been talking about with the audience, and you just got done kind of chit-chatting about, is these little decisions that we make in our life before we die, the deathbed vow or promise. How does that affect us all the way through our life? What's really going on?
Well, our decisions affect us constantly through our lives. Decisions we make in this lifetime early on will be affecting us quite often at a later time. Mm-hmm. The same thing applies to past life decisions, where on one's deathbed you may vow to be with your mate forever. And in this lifetime you may have had a wonderful relationship with that person and mean that. But in a future lifetime, he or she may come back and not be so pleasant, but you have made a deathbed decision to be with that person forever, so the two of you are drawn back together again. Only this time it's not a good relationship, it's a very bad relationship, and the universe is simply executing your decision. You have decided to be with that person, so there they are, for better or for worse. And you can't understand why we can't change this. Why can't I get away? Well, you never decide to get away. You never decide to end the relationship. You have decided to be with that person forever, so you're stuck with them, better for worse.
There is something, I think, in metaphysics where students will say, well, if I have a bad relationship with someone, do I have to stay with them until it becomes good? Lifetime after lifetime.
I'd say no. I'd say that's like saying if I buy a pair of shoes that are not my size because I don't know any better, do I have to tolerate the corns and calluses forever? And I'd say no, buy a pair of shoes that fit you.
What keeps us together? Is there not that thing possibly that hatred can keep us together, or resentment?
Hatred can keep us together, fear can keep us together, super glue can keep us together, everything can keep us together. The point is it a pleasant experience? Is it a growth experience? Is it something you are growing and realizing your full potential in that relationship? And if you're not, then quite frankly, it's time to say adios and decide to do something else with your life.
Quickly, how do we say adios if we need to?
You do just exactly that. You decide to function without that person in your life and release whatever feelings you have toward them, whether those feelings are positive or negative. Let go of the feelings, and you let go of the cause to pull you back together again with that person.
Does that person have to agree with you that there has to be a let go? What if the other person wants to cling to you like glue? What do you do?
Well, you have two dogs on a rag. Okay?
Yeah.
The wise dog is the one that lets go and moves on to more enjoyable activities than playing this tug of war, which many people seem to waste many, many incarnations doing. And it's not necessary.
So you just make a decision, it's time to let go and let go.
Let go.
Everybody comes into our life to serve some purpose, though, don't they?
Sure they do.
And as quickly as we can see it, maybe that lets us let go of it even quicker.
They'll only send you to the blackboard to do the times tables until you learn them.
Yeah.
Once you learn them, then you can go sit down and enjoy the show. And it's the same thing with the people in our lives.
I like Carly Simon's song, I Haven't Got Time for the Pain. Maybe we come to that point where we don't need it.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Brian Jameson. You're a very special person. I want to thank you for
Thanks,
being
Greg.
with us.
It's always nice.
Welcome back. Question and answers on your original face. I'm sure that all of you have something to be thinking about in this. Somebody asked me, yes, okay.
When your face gets opinionated and you find yourself saying, well, this is good and this is bad, and this is right and this is wrong, what do you do with that?
Okay, first thing, what face says that?
Well, just the inner, the scared face, maybe the face that's afraid.
The one that is always the most afraid in us is the one that is most conditioned. Now, was that the one that you learned when you went to church? Is it the one you learned to be skeptical at in school? And that's what you've got to see, that it's really not you, Kelly. That I have the same face. I feel sometimes a skepticism roll over me, or I feel, a criticism roll over me, and I look at it. But the funny thing about it is, it's not important anymore that it's there. That doesn't bother me. That's not the issue. It used to bother me immensely because I thought I shouldn't feel that way. And that's another thing that we're taught, that we shouldn't. But what is very interesting is not that I'm critical and not that I have all those faces, but where did they come from? When you begin to see that you have what I call a choice, that you can either keep that face on and allow that face to fester in you and to develop, and it will, and create its own consciousness, which it will, which will draw to you things, which it will, that are mostly painful and unhappy and repetitious, or you can look at it and go, I recognize it's there. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to play like it's not there. I'm going to let it be there, and I am not going to engage in it. Now that's the key. I'm not going to put emotion in it, and I'm not going to sit there and roll with it. I'm going to let it act itself out without me. When we have children, one of the first things that they do is they learn to get attention by acting up, don't they? Mommy, 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 mommy. And you often see parents just turn them off while they're going, mommy, and after a while the child goes, it's not working. And they stop. And that's the same thing that goes on within us. After we go through all of the screaming and the yelling that goes on inside, this is right and this is wrong, and you're sitting there and going, oh, what should I believe? You keep your focus on your heart. You stay very kind and humble, and eventually the voices die. But they don't die because you pushed them out. They die because your attention is more centered towards your heart and less towards your head. It is okay to have those voices. It's just where you put your attention. Okay? You were going to ask this ultimate question. Now, this is a great one.
How do you stay disciplined? You start out doing really good and you're meditating and you're gung-ho, and then you kind of lose it. How do you keep
All the
it?
time we lose it, don't
Right.
we? What loses it for you? What happens when you lose it?
I feel like I'm less motivated or
Well,
something.
where are you? I mean, what's going on in your life? Look at that for a moment. Is your life getting more complicated? Is that why you lose it? What's happening?
Well, that could be.
Yeah, what usually happens when we lose our spiritual practice is that somehow life is getting more complicated. In other words, we're going maybe back to a rut, a mental rut. And what happens is we start in our meditation, we hear it, and we hear, okay, I should meditate, I should practice the way. And we hear that here in our head. And then the first thing is that we develop something called tenacity, okay? A willfulness. I will meditate here, here, and here. It's still a head trip. Nobody knows why they're meditating. We should. And maybe if I do at these times, something will break for me over here. Well, see, there's no sense of urgency inside as to why we're doing it. So we go through the motions, and like everything else, it's a habit. Then one day, you drop it all, and you're not meditating, and something happens in your life that forces you to be introspective. I don't know what it will be. It could be a good thing, quote unquote. It could be, quote unquote, a bad thing. It could be something urgent, whatever it is. It could be divorce, an illness, a disappointment in your job with a friend. All of a sudden, there's no way out except inwardly. And when that occurs, that's when you'll start meditating on a regular basis. Not because you want to or have to, but because you know to. So fall off the bandwagon. Don't worry about it. Let your life fall off the bandwagon. Feel the pain of it. Feel the futility. After a while you go, God, I'm not getting anywhere. Nothing's happening. And when you finally see that and you go, I'm really not getting anywhere, that's when you'll start doing it on your own. It becomes very natural. For me, it started that way. For years, I would start and stop, until I had so many problems and so much confrontation in my life, I had to finally look at it and go, Gregory, either do it or don't talk about it. Where I was up against the corner of the wall and I couldn't move and I had to do it. And now it's not a habit. It is like breathing. I have to do it. Not because I want to, but because I do. But don't be impatient with yourself. There is two things in life that are always real. Our stupidity and God's compassion. Okay? And we'll always be running around doing things that are against ourselves, but there's always that compassion. So be gentle with yourself and just bring yourself back gently every time. Just gently bring yourself back. After a while, you won't stray anymore. But you must feel that sense of urgency. And it happens in women before men, because women yield better. Men have too many ego questions and things in their heads to do it. And there are some women who have a lot of male in them who are that way too. And the more a man balances his yin and yang, his male and female, the more in harmony he is with life. Now it's not a matter of what can I get out of my life, but what can I be in my life? How am I? I flow with my life. It's a good question. Very good. Any others here? We have one across here.
Greg, if I'm none of the things that I thought that I am, and I'm not what society and my folks and religion has taught me that I am, then what am I?
You're none of those things, and it's enough. If I told you, if I said who you are, which I can't say, because the moment I say it, it becomes untrue. If I tell you, it becomes another dogma. It becomes another theory. I think what has to happen is that's a good question, and that question has to go inside of you, and it must be very important for you not to find the answer to it, but to seek to experience that question. And that's the key to all of us. We have too many questions, not enough, so to speak, answers to them, and therefore we invent answers to questions that maybe aren't the answers at all. The only thing we can do is be quiet, meditate. Take the time every day to watch yourself move through things. What are you doing, and who's doing them in you? Eventually you'll see the truth of it, that, as Jesus said, you are the Son of the living God. Namaste. Thank you. Our original face. It is seen in nature. It's seen in the water. It's seen in the trees. It's seen in the shrubs. It's seen in the flowers. It is seen from our heart and in our heart. And if we can just take some time this week to practice being genuine, not to put on those phony faces, those faces of anger that we put on, those faces that cover up our softness, our heart, our understanding. Your original face is the image and the likeness of God. It is that unlimited side of your nature. And when we take time in our daily living just to allow the original part of us, the real part of us to emerge, we begin to live out of compassion and love. There's a unique sense of honesty and genuineness that happens. Begin to work from the only voice that is really important. It is the voice of your heart. And it tells you, you are one with life. You are one with the universe. Have a beautiful week. Namaste.
We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We're finding who we are. There's so many